scabies infection in children under 6 years old. This presentation is to inform the public, especially parents, that children under the age of 6 years old catch the scabies infection often. So if you are a parent or you thinking about becoming a parent, notice that children under the age of 6 are more prone to catch scabies. The mission. Children under 6 years old are infected with scabies more than anyone else. In certain places like tropical, hot, or warm climate areas, children are more likely to get infected with scabies. Now, the communities affected by scabies are all over the world, especially whenever the temperatures are warm. The effects of scabies are not detrimental, yet they are highly contagious. They are preventative measures to stop scabies. However, according to some medical researchers, the medication for scabies are only designated for children who are older than 6 years old and adults. There are preventative steps recommended to keep children from getting scabies. And this is all over the world that you can see that they have, or medical physicians will come up with a way to prevent scabies. First, what are scabies? Scabies are irritating parasite skin infections, and everybody could get scabies in this infection. Scabies are curable for all people. Scabies are caused by skin mites known as scabratoid scabies. Further, children are not born with scabies. Scabies are among all children, especially infants, toddlers, school-age children. What are scabies continue? Scabies affect children's bodies, and they spread through skin-to-skin contact. Young children under 6 years old have to use special type of cream. Medical providers are warning parents with children under 6 years old about the signs of scabies. Parents should take their children to get examined often by a physician. Parents and medical physicians or professionals are the first line of medical attention for all infants and children. Now, as you look at the bottom of the screen, you will know there are pictures of scabies. Both pictures, they come from the website called scabies.natural.55.com. The picture on the left is a picture of a scabie bug that lives inside of a person's skin. The picture on the right shows how the bug lays its eggs inside a person's skin. So they get underneath your skin and they lay these little tiny bugs, and they look white. They're so small that you won't be able to see them. Only thing is, they get directly underneath the crevices of your skin most of the time. You won't hardly notice, but later on we'll get more into that. Now, the scabies are known all over the world, particularly in infecting children under 6 years old, who are more vulnerable to the skin parasite. most times children are more vulnerable to any type of infection or parasite because they haven't built up immune yet. Most of the time they have been born, or they haven't been in certain areas where they can get sick and their immune system may not be high enough to fight off any type of disease yet. Now, one of the warm climates I was talking about earlier is in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, children 6 years old and younger are infected by scabies within 12 months of school or a daycare center. But Bangladesh is a real hot country, and it mostly stays tropical and warm all year round. There are tropical and warm climates in our country, far as Miami, Southern California, that the scabies may appear, because most of the time this infection bug, they're like warm climate areas. Communities affected. Scabies outbreaks are common in schools and in daycares. So be careful when you send your kids to school. Be careful that the daycare is clean. Get some background checks about the daycare. According to a Canadian study, scabies infection affects children 3 times more in urban communities than in non-urban communities. 63% of children are infected by scabies before their first birthday. That's a lot of infants is affected, and this is coming from around the world. One of the sites that I found about how often do children get affected by scabies. Effects of scabies. Scabies causes damage to a person's skin through skin mites and visible papules. According to Ross Andrew and his associates, who wrote an article on skin disorder, they stated scabies are found in a children's head and neck, especially infants. Now, you notice the picture from www.chop.edu and take a look at the infant's head and the neck closely. There are signs of scabies. There are small signs right there by the neck, a little bit above the ear, but you can hardly see it. Effects of scabies continuing. Symptoms are not noticeable by the parents at first. If children constantly scratch their bodies, they may have scabies. Not saying they may have scabies. Often you see children, they normally will scratch their body if they hot, or if they got bit by a mosquito or a bug or something. They will normally scratch in the same area because it's really irritating to them. Then, however, scabies could spread to different areas of the children's body once they have it. At the bottom of the slide is a picture of an infant's body. Scabies get worse if untreated. So you see when a child was scratching from the top of his head to all the way into the middle of his body, underneath his arms, you can see little brown and red marks of the child spread throughout his body, his or her body. Now, these are some examples of scabies on young children under the age of 6, mostly the infants. Okay, the first picture on the left comes from the Pediatric House website. This is a picture of an infant, and notice how the scabies infection is under the child's arm, and it's right directly under the child's arm. So most of the time, scabies they would like to live in the warm crevices of your body. It looks as if the child has tiny red bumps or scars. However, if you look closely, the skin is a dark red, and the child's scalp has a popcorn look to his or her skin. Yet, you can tell that his or her skin is not normal. Alright, the next picture is of the toddler's hand. The toddler looks as if he or she had gotten bitten by a normal bug, but it's not a normal bug. It could look like it's sore and scratched up, but it's not. And you notice the scalp is peeling, and it looks like he or she been scratching at his or her sores. Lastly, the infant on the right looks as if he or she has a heat rash. As you look closely, the scabies are real tiny, and they circle around certain parts of the body's face and neck. You got little small circles on the top by the child's head, and you got a little small circles by his eye. You got some scalp peeling skin over under his neck, his or her neck. We have preventative measures. Children who are infected by scabies should not be around other children who are not affected by scabies. Now, children who are under 6 can easily catch the scabies infection, being that children mostly interact with other children on a day-to-day basis in a daycare, and sometimes they like to hug each other or put each other's stuff in their mouths, even at some schools. Being around that one child, they can prevent couldn't get a child most likely will get scabies. Okay, they should either stay at home or wear protective clothing. Most parents are not going to say, "Oh, I'm going to stay at home with my child." You know, they have to work. They can't. Sometimes they can't even afford to stay at home, but they should be able to use protective clothing. Also, maybe notify the school and let them know they have some type of ointment that they need to take, and the ointment probably should be somewhere, or the medicines should be somewhere in a nurse's office. And the ointment they use for scabies are usually used to treat scabies, or a sulfur ointment. This is for young children and infants, so they normally will apply the ointment on this, but some parents, they often reject it because it can have a high cosmetic odor. Some parents may not be able to stand the odor that's on their children, or don't even like the smell if it smells kind of funny, or if it smells like so. If I were the parent, I will ask the doctor if they have an ointment that is odorless. That way it won't attract something, or you never know, a person or the child or the parent might be allergic to the smell, certain types of smells. We all encounter certain types of smells that we might be allergic to, or we just can't stand. Another preventative measure continuing is medical professionals are still researching for a better medication for children under 6 years old. If adults have scabies and they have children younger than 6 years old, or if they have children at all, they should wear protective clothing so that the children do not get infected, like long sleeves, shirt, or pants. So more than likely, you're going to probably try to cover yourself if you have kids, and if you're carrying a toddler or kids around all the time, and you either burping a toddler or burping an infant, and you have that on, you might want to cover yourself up if you are a parent. Generally, the children that's older than 6 years old or 5, or they can be walking, you might not have too much interaction with them, too much far as more than a hug, but you still want to protect yourself from your kids at all time if you are a parent with certain things. Steps recommended to prevent scabies. Parents need to do the following: check their children's head and neck. Now, often you would be able to check their head and neck whenever they're probably in the bathroom washing up, or you washing their head, or you washing their fingers, or most of the time you dry them off. Some parents watch their children even at the age of 5 or 6 years old. They should be able to tell, or they still dress their children at a certain age. Most definitely on the ones that's under 6 years old. The parents more likely to dress the children and make sure that the children are dressed properly and suitable for whatever type weather they're going out for. They should examine their body, especially between their fingers and toes. Most of the time, scabies like to live in between the fingers and the toes, or the crevices of your forearm, or under your arm, because of the heat. They like to be warm and snuggle, and that's where it can mostly spread out at. Often, like in the other pictures, you've seen scabies around the child's neck, but when a child has a big thick neck, and the neck is somewhat covering a fold like most of the kids have, and they could be under the child's neck, and in certain places of the head. These scabies, they always like to be in the warm crevices of your body, even behind your knee. As you sit down, they could be there under behind your knee, in those crevices under your arm. Most definitely a warm spot in between the crack of the center of your the top of your butt. There have been known places where scabies could be known in that area once they get affected and once they spread, and sometimes they may spread rapidly too. Take the children to get a physical every 6 months. Often, whenever we go to the doctor, we just get a regular physical, but they should be looked at dermatologists. They should be able to look and see and check for everything, not only just head colds or whenever the child is sick. Parents should take the children to get inspected often, and throw that in there for anybody who feel like they're having this itchy-like symptoms. But most likely the kids, especially the ones at 6, they don't really know the difference. They just keep scratching, and it is more prevalent these days that children can get just more than scabies at all. And these are the references I got for the scabies condition, and one of them was the parasite disease by Furthermore, and the epidermic parasite disease and neglect category of poverty associated plague. That's a really good one. That's where I got some of the my information from. And then, if you do not know what scabies look like, there's some pictures that So, some of these sites, www.pediatric_house.com, www.chop.edu, www.info.please.com, scabies.natural.855.com. Those are some sites that you can see where scabies look like if you are a parent or anybody else who's interested in detecting scabies at all. Thank you.